It has to be true that everyone who creates art is motivated by something. It may not be something we're always consciously aware of, and it may not be just a singular reason, but I recently realized that it's been 10 years since I decided to pursue a career in art, and this revelation actually scared me, because it made me realize that I wasn't really happy with where I am now. So I spent the past few weeks thinking really deeply about this question. Why would I, or anyone else, choose to be an artist or a creative as a career? I want to share a bit of my experience, and I'm curious if others can relate to any of it. While I'm telling my story, I'll be showing some time lapses of several creative projects I've been working on over the past month. For the sake of the story, let's go back to summer of 2014. I just finished my first 2 semesters of community college. The way I saw it at the time, there were 2 very different pathways in front of me. I had peers and wise adults encouraging me to pursue a career in business or finance, essentially suggesting that if I want to earn a stable living, that I should follow the money. I also had peers and other wise adults encouraging me to follow my passion. If I find something I really enjoy doing, and I can make a career out of it, then it'll never feel like a job. It'll be something way more fulfilling than that. So ever since I was a kid, I was fully captivated by stories, and I really enjoyed bringing my own ideas to life, drawing characters, creating stories and worlds. I didn't really have much patience for craftsmanship growing up, but I was excited enough by my ideas to push through the hard work in order to create something to share with others. And the praise and attention it would give me from others always felt really validating. To some degree, it made me feel special, and being seen as a creative became a part of my sense of identity from a young age. The idea of being a cartoonist or an animator was specifically appealing to me. However, in college I did struggle with the idea of pursuing that specifically though. I read a lot of advice from industry professionals online who basically said it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's underappreciated and underpaid, for example. But I still wanted to be an artist, and so I finally made a decision. I declared my major as visual art/graphic design. This would allow me to continue to learn as an artist without specializing or pigeonholing myself. I figured that if I just put in enough effort, I could find a way to make money as an artist. I would find a way to earn a stable living while working on my own ideas and doing whatever I'm passionate about. 4 years later, I graduated from Rutgers with a BFA in graphic design. At this point, I had decent skills in traditional art, design theory, motion graphics, and video editing. Outside of school assignments, I was still dabbling in a bunch of different directions and self-learning all I could on YouTube, and there were a lot of things that I enjoyed doing creatively, but nothing that I wanted to be doing all the time. I would get tired of working in a certain medium midway through a project or lose faith in an idea. When I did finish projects, it would take much longer than I know I'm capable of, and this was really because I struggled to focus once my initial passion for an idea began to dwindle. After college, I applied for a lot of different jobs, specifically trying to target television studios. But my portfolio was basically aimless, so that didn't go anywhere. However, I was able to find work as a video editor for a small media company based outside of Philly. I did that for a couple years, and it was fun for a while, because I did enjoy many aspects of video editing and creating motion graphics. But I wasn't earning enough money here to move out of my mom's house. So I began to look at how I could pivot into something more lucrative. I saw a lot of job listings for UX at the time, which had basically exploded in demand around 2020. Job salaries in UX started at more than double my current salary, so I decided that would be a good move, and I invested back into my education and enrolled in a tech bootcamp for UX design. I pushed myself really hard in that course, and then I built a design portfolio website, and I was applying for jobs constantly while doing unpaid internships. Then I found a few freelance opportunities related to motion design and teaching, as a result of that new portfolio mainly. These things were great experience, but I still hadn't reached a salary that would allow me to comfortably rent an apartment alone in the state I was living in. But within that same year, a friend of mine reached out to let me know that there was an opening for a digital designer role at the company she works for. They were looking for somebody with digital design, education, and UX experience, and after a few interviews with them, I got the job, which I still have to this day. This role allowed me to finally earn enough money in a creative role to comfortably move out of my mom's house. The only downside being that this job really takes a lot out of me, leaving very little time and energy for personal creative projects outside of work. It's been very difficult to be consistent with any of my own personal projects because I'm basically feeling burnt out all the time. I really only can find time to create personal stuff when an idea is stronger than my desire to get any sleep. I held this job now for a couple years, and sometimes I feel content with it, and sometimes I really wanted to leave it, which is probably true for a lot of people. And all of this has been fine to me for the last couple years. Actually, it was better than fine. I felt objectively like I've become a successful creative, until I realized that as of this year, it's been 10 years since I decided to pursue a career as a creative. My first thought upon realizing this is, what have I been doing? My job is not really scratching any creative itch anymore. It's using a lot of my abilities, but they're not really projects that bring me any fulfillment or excitement. 10 years ago, I thought that in 10 years, I'd be widely successful by anyone's definition, that I'd be a self-made artist and making money to afford a house and start a family, happily working on my own projects and ideas that bring me joy. Yet, here I am, no house, living in an apartment, barely able to save any money, and not even doing work that I can say I'm passionate about by any means. So sure, I had an overly ambitious expectation for myself, but I figured that at least I would find fulfillment in what I'm doing on a daily basis if I chose to follow my passion instead of following the money. My friends who did follow the money are now buying houses, starting families. They don't always love their job, but it's only one aspect of their life, and they find fulfillment outside of that. And they can financially afford to live fuller lives outside of their work. So this forced me to think deeper. Where did I go wrong? At first, I blamed myself for making a series of risk-averse compromises over all these years. I didn't specialize in character animation because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to earn enough money, so I stayed a generalist. I got into UX design for the promise to align my background with a higher paycheck. I never took the risk on myself to quit my job and invest all my efforts on self-starting a business. I didn't force myself to sink or swim, so I didn't really ever pursue what I thought I was truly passionate about. And that's how I felt at first. I felt like I acted like a hypocrite, claiming to follow my passion while compromising on my vision by choosing the safest option at every crossroad. But I had to dig deeper than this. It wouldn't be fair to myself otherwise. So really, why was I motivated to follow a career in art in the first place? Why did I think that this would make me happy? Why do I create art in general? Thinking this through, I was able to boil it down to two initial motivations. Motivation one being a genuine enjoyment for aspects of the creative process. I've always enjoyed thinking about how to bring my own ideas to life. And my second motivation being a desire to continue to receive praise from others. A desire to feel special, to feel validated. It's unpopular to say, but when introspecting deeply, I can't discount that it was a part of why I wanted to create art in the first place. And I think my desire for praise may have at times been greater than my enjoyment of the creative process. As a child, I struggled heavily with feelings of low self-worth, and I desperately wanted to feel special, to feel different, anything to validate my existence, and art was the easiest way for me to achieve that. So I would chase that feeling. I had terrible social skills in middle school. I couldn't pay attention in the classroom to save my life. So just to hear someone praise my art skills helped me to feel like it's okay for me to just be me, and to exist the way that I currently was. But if I'm creating art primarily as a means of receiving praise from others, this has two negative implications. The first issue with being motivated to create art in order to receive praise is that I'm not actually following something I'm very passionate about, or necessarily find enjoyment in at all. It's just a tool to combat feelings of inferiority. The second issue with being motivated by a desire to receive praise is that my happiness, identity, and sense of belonging is totally dependent on everyone else's perception of me and of what I create. My feeling of self-worth is therefore bound by others' perceptions of what's good and bad. It creates a feedback loop where I'll always be doing what I think will grant me praise from others, and shaving away aspects of myself in order to conform to other people's expectations or opinions. And there's no way to win in that pursuit. It's like chasing a carrot on a stick, always working towards that point of finally being accepted, but never actually accepting myself because my sense of worth is not coming from me. So now that I'm aware of this, what is there to actually do about it? I have a difficult time differentiating what percentage of my motivation comes from a desire for praise and what percentage comes from a genuine enjoyment of the act of creating. And to make matters worse, there's actually another motivator which has ultimately been a substantially large contributor to why I've been unhappy with my career path. And this is fear. For a majority of everything that I've done over the last 10 years, fear has played a major role. Fear of not earning enough, fear of not being able to grow an audience, fear of not growing my skills enough to compete in the job market, not being able to live up to my own expectations or other people's expectations of me, fear of not being able to prove childhood bullies wrong for thinking I would amount to nothing. I've lived so much of my life guided by fear that it was just a part of my psyche. I felt like everything is constantly on fire at all times, always planning what I need to do next, never enjoying the present moment because there's a list of things that I need to do in order to eventually find peace with myself. But this is ultimately the largest reason why I've felt so unhappy over how I spent the last 10 years. Not only have I not reached the financial freedom that I see my peers have achieved, but I've also been scared and unhappy throughout a majority of this career journey that I've taken up until this point. So what do I do now? For the time being, first I want to be more mindful of how I'm living my everyday life. I want to dedicate more of my life to the present moment. Rather than investing my time towards some future reward, I want to relearn how to enjoy the little moments and embrace whatever it is I'm doing in the present. I want to rediscover for myself how much I actually enjoy the process of art and design when I'm not being motivated by fear or praise. And eventually, I'll be able to see with clearer vision where that line sits and what my values are now. Then I can begin to pivot in a direction that's more aligned with who I am today.